Here he is now, Drew Pearson, one of the new finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was a long time coming, but finally, Drew, you're on the brink of getting in. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. It got me fired up watching that video. Bring on the Vikings. Where are those guys?
Oh, got me fired up too, Drew, because I remember it well as a 10-year-old who wasn't rooting for the Cowboys that day, who saw that play in real time, and who commenced crying and bawling and squalling into the carpet for an hour after that game. So it brings back a lot of memories, not good memories, but it brings back a lot of memories. And Drew, I don't know if you know this. Your name comes up every time Shireen's on. Your name comes up because they play that clip, because she loved that moment as much as I hated it, so it all balances out.
Well, let me say for you, it was a pleasure, okay?
Thank you, Drew.
Yes. But anyway, I'm the fine bite I play. I hear about it almost every day. I hear the words Hail Mary almost every day. And, everybody, I think the controversy, whether I push Nate right or not, keeps the play alive. People continue to discuss that. But you see on that play right there, I'm just going for the football. And there's no intentional contact. We're playing football out there, so there might be some contact. But I'm just going for the football in that situation. And luckily, I was able to slow it up enough with my hands and catch it between my elbow and my hip and threw it over the scoreboard, because that's what all of us ex-quarterbacks do. We get any chance we can to throw the football.
And now Drew, I'm no expert in proper technique for a receiver, but I would expect when going for the football, that doesn't entail putting your hands into the lower back of the defensive back and shoving him onto the ground. I don't know. Maybe you can clear that up for me.
Sir, Mike, it was a swim move. You heard of the swim move with the receiver? You get that inside on the defensive back, and in doing that, there was contact. But there was no deliberate push. If I really deliberately pushed him, he really would have fell, okay? he fell with the contact. And but you know what? Before that, we had a, 4th and 16? 2 plays before that, we were able to hit on the sideline for, 22 yards or so in the first down to keep that drive going. Who do we hit that play on? Same cornerback.
And all I remember is
we knew who to go.
The guy who caught that pass didn't land in bounds either. I can't remember who caught that pass, but he wasn't in bounds.
Back then, force out rule was in effect. You knew that. You know that. Nate Wright played in the league 13 years. He knew that rule as well. So if he would have let me get my feet in, I would have done that toe dance right there on the sideline. Charlene has seen that toe dance so many times, running that out route on the sidelines in Texas Stadium.
Drew, I had the great pleasure of presenting you to the 100-year committee, and unfortunately you didn't get in then, but you are getting in now. And everybody talks about a Cowboys bias for the Hall of Fame voters, and I don't think we can talk about that now with so many Cowboys going in. Of course, Cliff Harris and Jimmy Johnson were in the class of 2020 in that centennial class. But do you think at one point there maybe was a Cowboys bias? You guys didn't beat the Steelers in those Super Bowls. Maybe if you had, things would have sped up for you a little bit. But do you think there was some of that there, or was it just the fact that you guys didn't beat the Steelers in those Super Bowls that maybe put more Steelers in, including Lynn Swann, who you had more catches than?
Yeah, I think they created a bias, by saying things like, well, if you would have beat those Pittsburgh Steelers in those 2 Super Bowls, you'd have more Cowboys in the Hall of Fame. What is that? You don't judge it by that, I don't think. And then they also say, the Cowboys, too many Cowboys in the Hall of Fame and that type of thing. And let's divide it up and, spread it out a little more to other teams, maybe so. But, those kind of negative connotations create the bias, I guess, within the room. And, we've always felt that there was a bias. And another reason we feel there's a bias against Cowboys is because there's so many deserving that aren't in. I understand Chuck Halley was close in this selection for the senior door this time around. And, we got so many other Cowboys that are deserving. You take some of those guys like a Harvey Martin, and compare his record to some of the defensive ends in the Hall of Fame, and it's very comparable, if not better. Not saying those guys aren't Hall of Famers, but if they are, then Harvey Martin is too. But there's other guys, even Clint Murchison. Look what his track record is as a contributor. And, he continues to not get in. So there might be a bias because there's so many of us that could be eligible for that type of honor.
Well, one guy who was a no-brainer to get in was your head coach, one of the towering figures in NFL history, Tom Landry. He exuded professionalism. He exuded ability, and it's amazing how long he held that job. Give us your best story from your years playing for Tom Landry.
Well, I got quite a few. Some I could even tell on TV and get away with, but I don't know. Coach Landry, the thing about it, I come from Tulsa, and I had 3 head coaches in 4 years at Tulsa. So my mentorship as an adult, my adult mentorship wasn't that great. But now all of a sudden I'm with the Dallas Cowboys, and now my adult mentorship is Tom Landry. And I got in his back pocket pretty much and tried to not just be a good football player and do what he wanted me to do out there on the football field, but be a professional as well. Coach Landry was the ultimate professional, the way he carried himself. And you saw him on the sideline dressed. He didn't look like no football coach. He looked like a CEO, more of a major corporation than a football team, a head coach of a football team. And so we tried to exude that, and I tried to exude that myself, learning from my mentor, Tom Landry. Then you got other mentors around you, of course, like Roger Staubach, Leroy Jordan, Bob Lilly, Bob Hayes, and people like that. But anyway, Coach Landry, he used to try to come into meetings and tell a little joke sometime to try to loosen us up. But, it never went over. He would tell the joke and nobody would laugh. Everybody would be sitting there. He couldn't understand that. But we did throw him in the pool one time. We had a pool party at the Royal Oaks Country Club in Dallas. And we got a little tip there. And Coach Landry got in the mood as well. And Cliff Harris and Charlie Waters were true veterans at that time. I was pretty much a rookie, so I had nothing to do with it. But they decided to grab Coach Landry and throw him in the pool, the swimming pool. And to our surprise, he handled it pretty well. We saw a smile on his face and everything. So, that story has never been out. So I don't know if I should be telling that at this point.
Drew, one of the things I pointed at.
He doesn't know how to swim, okay?
That's good. One of the things I pointed out in my presentation was how many great plays you had. We always point to the Hail Mary, and especially here on Fridays, we play it all the time. But you also had the catch from Clint Longley on Thanksgiving. You had the 83-yarder against the Rams. I think it was the 73 playoffs. And then you had the playoff game, of course, against Atlanta when Danny White pointed and made the Falcons disappear, as they said on NFL Films. But one play everyone forgets about is the play that followed the catch, which we consider one of the greatest plays in NFL history. But you almost broke that play, which would have made the catch a footnote in history because the Cowboys would have won that game. And if there was the horse collar rule, I think they brought you down by the horse collar. Can you tell us about some of that play?
Yeah, that was a big play. After they scored, we were firstly surprised that they drove on our defense the way they did to score that touchdown, capped by the catch by the late Dwight Clark. God rest his soul. But, yeah, we come back, and, Danny White's quarterback, and he had been in that position for a couple of years, I think, at that point. But he was still trying to establish himself as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and he was trying to establish his own go-to guy as opposed to using Rodgers' go-to guy. But on the first play in that huddle, he wanted me to run an in route. I ran that in route, and running that route, I was double covered by Carlton Williamson and Ronnie Lott. And when Danny threw the ball went by them, and I saw them collide with each other and hit me in the chest. And I figured at that point, if I'm double covered, there can't be nobody behind me. So I didn't expect Eric Wright to be there behind me to make that desperate attempt to tackle me that he did make. If I had known he was there, I could have done something to avoid that. but he grabbed me, and I felt the grab, and I tried to get away, but he reinforced the grab by grabbing the shoulder pads, and he was able to yank me down. And guys, even with my speed at that position on the field, I would have got at least 20 more yards, okay, to put us in a field goal position to kick the game-winning field goal. But, that play is talked about quite a bit. Charlene, you mentioned all these plays, scoring the touchdowns to win games, but the ones that mean more to me than anything are the third down catches to keep drives going. My 489 catches, I averaged 16 yards a catch. Every time I caught the ball, it was almost a first down. And those were the kind of things, going over that middle, making those tough catches. And they gave me more satisfaction because those defensive backs, when you go over the middle and make a catch like that, and they see you and they start shaking their head, you got them then. You got them then.
Drew, the game has changed dramatically over the past 40 years. The explosion of passing offense, the passing yardage, the receivers with well over 1,000 yards every year. That leads to our trivia question. Tell us who the last player was to lead the league in receiving with fewer than 1,000 yards.
That couldn't have been me. Was that me?
Go with your instinct. It was you. 1977, 870 yards. That was, of course, right before the game really opened up the passing game. Do you ever think about how much more prolific your numbers would have been if you had played in the era where the rules were skewed toward passing the ball and receivers really showing what they can do?
Absolutely. I would think they would be a lot better if Mel Blount didn't play in the league. He cut me down pretty good, unfortunately. But yeah, there's no question, with the rules and the one bump and getting downfield. And not only that, guys, with the rule changes and that, but the quality of defensive back is just not the same as what I played against. I played against Hall of Famers and guys like that, and you played against those guys each and every year. Sometimes in an 11-year career, you played against the same guys for 11 seasons. And so it made it a little more difficult to play. But if I could play in the league nowadays with these rules, the type of movement and things that they do, the type of defenses that they play nowadays, and the lack of quality cornerbacks in the National Football League, defensive backs, period, in the National Football League. And I don't know why that is. Maybe the receivers have gotten better, and maybe it looks that way because they're throwing the football a lot more. But, I just see a lack of quality as far as the coverage of the cornerbacks. And I see so many things, even with Coach Landry's offense, that I can implement in today's game with these rules and really have some success. We had success with the rules we were back in the day, but with these rules, with Coach Landry's offense, we probably even had more success.
Drew, when I was a kid, I used to get up on my A-frame swing set and I would practice my play-by-play. I'd pull the little cap off so I could hear it reverberate, and it was Roger Staubach to Drew Pearson. I think you guys scored. I don't know how many exactly you scored, but when I was doing the play-by-play, it was at least 500 touchdowns that you guys made. What was your favorite touchdown? I don't know if you're going to say the Hail Mary or not, but did you have a favorite touchdown in your career?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. It's that 83-yard touchdown I caught against the Rams in my first playoff game. That kind of established the confidence that the team had me going forward. Because the next year against the Washington Redskins, I caught that pass from Clinton Longley. They called my number in that situation. Then the year following that, the Hail Mary and all that. But that 83-yard touchdown was a situation where, Roger, I'm in a huddle with Bob Hayes. I'm an undrafted free agent. Here's the Olympic gold medal winner, Bob Hayes, next to me in the huddle. And Roger told Bob Hayes to line up on the right side and run a post pattern. He told me to line up on the left side and run a post pattern. And last thing Roger said, Drew, I'm going to you all the way. I'm thinking, Bob Hayes is sitting here. You're going to me making 14-5. I'm saying, oh, my. But anyway, Roger threw that and ran the post pattern. I saw double coverage. I didn't think he was going to throw it, but he threw it and got past Eric Wright and Steve Priest. Eddie McMillan and Steve Priest, and I caught it at the 50 and took it in the end zone. The big deal about that, guys, is that it gave me confidence that I could play in the National Football League. Because after that game, riding home with my late brother Moose, I told him, I said, Moose, if I could stay healthy, I think I can have a career in the NFL. So making that play in that playoff game at that time on national TV gave me the confidence that I can do other things and have success in the NFL. So that's the biggest play for me.
Well, and it definitely worked, Drew. All signs pointing toward a gold jacket coming up next year and a bronze bust in Canton. Long overdue, but better late than never. And check us out every Friday morning because, Drew, you're going to be a fixture. Anytime Shireen's on, they find a way to play that highlight. And now we know he finally admitted it, folks. He pushed Nate right. I finally have closure after 45 years. Congratulations, Drew. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.